All right, Chapter 2, Mrs. Donnelly. The instant I saw him standing there with all that hair and all those beads, I just knew. Garland Farm, it had to be. Nobody else looked like that. Nobody had looked like that since 1970, except at Garland. He seemed terrified, and with good reason. No one knew what lay ahead for him better than I did. I held out my hand. I'm Mrs. Donnelly. He made no move to take it. Capricorn. Capricorn. Wasn't that just classic? My own name, Flora, was short for Flora Mundi, a world of flowers. I'd been out of that place for more than 30 years. But one sight of this kid and it all came roaring back in a tsunami of day-glow ponchos and organic lentils. I was 5 when my family joined the community, too young to remember any life before that. For 6 long years, that place was my universe. I ran around barefoot, wearing peasant dresses, shared my parents with other kids, protested the Vietnam War, did farm chores, and listened to a whole lot of sitar music. So help me, I didn't know how weird it all was until my parents, they decided they were too old to be hippies anymore and we rejoined the real world. That part I remember like it was yesterday. This little flower child who barely knew how a doorknob worked suddenly dropped in the middle of a society several centuries ahead of the one she just left. I looked at Capricorn Anderson and that's what I saw. Not a case, but a time traveler about to step into a world that had forgotten the 60s except for JFK and the Beatles. In my right hand was a piece of paper with the address of a foster home the Department of Child Services had assigned for this boy. I crumpled it up and tossed it into the nearest trash can. Well, Capricorn, it looks like you're going to be staying at my house for a few weeks. Absolutely not, he exclaimed. I have to get back to the community. The plums aren't in yet, and after that, the apples. Everything has to be ready for when Rain comes home. I remembered Rain. She was one of the founders of Garland, the queen bee of the place I lived when I lived there. I was always afraid of her. I thought she was a witch. Wait a minute. I put 2 and 2 together. Rachel Esther Rosenblatt is Rain, your grandmother? He brightened. You know her. That's when I figured out the key to Capricorn's heart, so I could do what needed to be done for his own good. I used to, way back before you were born. My family lived at Garland. Rain would want you to be with someone who understands. I had a reluctant house guest.